Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is Gazzetta. I'm standing in for Adam McCullough on this Sunday afternoon, out a little bit later than usual. Well, it usually goes out about midday, done on a Sunday, so maybe it's not that later. Apologies as well for the light shining off my head, but it is sunny here in Salford. So let's get into it. Plenty of Manchester United news to focus on, including a bit of a reaction following last night's or yesterday's 3-2 win over Nottingham Forest. We made hard work of it, didn't we? It's what we like to do at Manchester United, but we got the win, an important win for Erik ten Hag's men, and even more importantly, or you might argue equally important, was the protest afterwards. There was a few thousand, if not probably about 4,000 or 5,000 United fans, maybe a few more, that stayed behind after the game. I was one of them, to let our voices be heard about the Glazers and how we want them gone from our club. It was arranged by the 1958 sit-in, so for an hour after the game, thousands of Reds staying behind, singing songs, letting the Glazers know they're not welcome. And the papers have obviously picked up on that. It says here on the back of the Sunday Mirror, you can see that. Manchester, a great United win, marred by fans' protests over Glazers. Rio tells owners, dragging your feet is holding back Ten Hag. It also goes on to say here, it's by Simon Mullock, Erik ten Hag insisted that Manchester United fans have the right to protest against the club's owners after seeing his team thrill Old Trafford with a sensational comeback win. And also on that front, on the protest, it just says here, there's a bit, it says, shadow of the ownership still hangs over Old Trafford as Reds go from sublime to ridiculous and back again. It was a bit crazy winning that game today. There's also a piece here by Rio Ferdinand, friend of the channel, of course, works with Stephen Howson. There we go. See there? He's saying, my message to the Glazers, stop dragging your feet on the sail. It's undoing Ten Hag's good work. And United fans can see it. Everyone can see it. The world can see it. It's just been a bit of a shambles. And it's the Glazers' ownership has been a shambles from top to bottom. They got away with it for, was it, whatever it was, sort of 7 or 8 years under Sir Alex Ferguson. Because of the genius of Sir Alex Ferguson, he was able to work with them and have success in spite of them, not because of them. But once he left, and we saw the likes of Ed Woodward be given a prominent role, managers coming on this conveyor belt, this merry-go-round, whatever you want to call it, managers coming in, making signings, then getting moved on. The new manager comes in, getting rid of the previous manager's signings. Then he's backed for a little bit. Then he's not backed properly. Then he gets moved on. Then a new manager comes in, and the cycle carries on and carries on and carries on. And that's what will happen if Erik ten Hag isn't successful. I think he will be successful, but if he isn't, he'll move on. A new manager will come in and a new manager will go, well, I don't want Casemiro, Anthony, Martinez or whatever. He'll move them on. He'll bring in a load of new players and we'll just keep going through this cycle. It can't continue. It has to stop. And that's what the fans yesterday were sort of ones I was chatting to, the ones at the protest, we're talking about. It's not just the facts that we aren't signing the right players or under the Glazers, we haven't been able to go after some of the players we should have been able to. It's not just the fact we aren't backing managers properly when we should be backing them. It's the fact that you've also got a stadium that isn't fit for purpose. I love Old Trafford. I've got some fantastic memories of going to Old Trafford, but it needs a massive rebuild. I think it personally we need a new stadium. Others will disagree and say we need to revamp Old Trafford. But either way, the stadium has been left to crumble. You've got a training ground, which at one point was state-of-the-art, which is now vintage. You've got facilities just aren't up to standard. We talk about the women's team, and you know they got to the FA Cup final last season, they had a good season. They're playing down in Lee Sports Village. Why haven't we got a designated area for our academy or a designated stadium for our academy and our women's teams? Why haven't we got the facilities that we should have for all these teams? Why have we still got a stadium that isn't good enough? And why are we letting teams like Manchester City steal such a march on us? It's just not good enough. It really isn't. And it all goes back to the Glazers and people say, oh, you spent loads of money. Some of these articles speak about the fact that Erik ten Hag spent money. Of course he spent money. He had to. He had to spend money. He inherited a team that just finished 6th. He lost the likes of Paul Pogba, Edison Cavani, Jesse Lingard. You might not think he's a first-team player. He lost a lot of players. They needed replacing. Plus, he just finished 6th. The team just finished 6th, so he had to try and play a bit of catch-up. And let's not forget, he spent money. He got us where we were fighting on all 4 fronts. And when it got to January and we needed another striker because Ronaldo had left, what did the board do? What did the Glazers do? They gave him no money whatsoever. So he had to go out and get Wout Weghorst and Marcel Sabitzer. I know he's not a striker, but him in as well on either a loan, well, 2 loan moves because we had no money. It's pathetic and ridiculous. what's not pathetic and ridiculous is this story about Erik ten Hag could be offered a new deal. You may argue it's a little bit premature, but I like Erik ten Hag. I think he's a good manager. It says here, Manchester United are set to give Erik ten Hag, this is in the Express, see it there, are set to give Erik ten Hag a new deal before the end of the year, even if the club has not been sold. United's owner, the Glazers, have sanctioned the start of negotiations on a 2-year extension to the manager's current contract, which runs until June 2025. So they're saying that he's going to get offered a new deal, could be by the end of the year. Listen, I think he's the right man. I think we need to stick with him. I really do. I think it's important we stick with the right manager, not any manager, the right manager. I think he's the right manager. I think we should stick with him. And what some people may sort of have to get used to the idea of is it's going to take a little while to catch City. They're that far ahead of us. And I know it's not a nice feeling, but it is going to take a while. So I think United will win a title. But I think Erik ten Hag can do it. He's just got to be back properly, and we've got to show a little patience. You know, to take that said. Look at Sir Alex Ferguson. When he took over, when it looked like he was, you know, it took him a few years and people wanted him gone. But he had sort of certain amount of success, you could say, when I think the team finished second in his first full season. Then there was a bit of a drop-off. But whilst that drop-off happened, he was doing more long-term projects. He was doing more long-term things behind the scenes. The academy was getting sorted. The training ground was getting sorted. There was a whole new network of scouts who were bringing in these younger players. He was setting the wheels in motion for what became the most dominant era in the history of English football. So you can... I'm not saying Sir Erik ten Hag is going to be like Sir Alex Ferguson, but you can see what Erik ten Hag. You can see what Erik ten Hag is doing behind the scenes. You can see what he's doing about the whole club, not just the first team. He's involved in the academy. He cares about that as well. So I think we just need to be patient. On the back of the Star, it says, he's Eric the Red. And it says there, Ten Hag fans' opinions, right to be heard, talks over new deal for boss. So there you go. Everyone's backing him. And it says here on the back of the Sunday People, he's backing the fans. Sorry, the fans hopefully are backing him. We just need the board and the owners to back him. They need the owners to start listening to the fans as well, because these protests ain't going away. Again, back of the page, United are just dominating the back pages, by the way. Glazed over. Says Ferdinand accuses owners of destabilising the club. Rio Ferdinand not happy with the owners, and I'm with him. I don't think any of us are. And you can see there's a picture of the protest as well. One of the flags there from the 1958. Well done to them. Again, it says Erik ten Hag insisted that Manchester United fans have the right to protest against the club's owners after seeing his team thrill Old Trafford with a comeback win. Erik ten Hag gets it, as the kids say. Anyway, we've had a here we go. I've been chatting and going through all these papers, and this morning we actually had a here we go. Yeah, I mean, who was it? Have we signed? Is it Sofian Amrabat? Have we brought in another striker? What have we done? What is the amazing news coming from Fabrizio Romano? Well, unfortunately, it isn't any of those things. It's Dean Henderson going to Crystal Palace. Here we go. Fabrizio Romano says, Dean Henderson to Crystal Palace. Here we go. Agreement in place and medical to be completed today. Permanent move from Man United. United to receive 20 million package, add-ons included. Sell-on clause will be also part of the deal. So Dean Henderson going on. He then adds Bayern Day to Man United soon. So it looks like a new keeper will be coming in to Manchester United as Dean Henderson makes his way out. Listen, we all know Dean Henderson wasn't working at Manchester United. Ever since he gave that interview, that was the end of his United career, seemingly, where he's sort of slagging off the club and says it was criminal the way he'd been treated and all the rest of it. Didn't look like he had a future at Manchester United. Went to Forest, did okay. Well, did well until he got injured. Now he's got a Crystal Palace. Permanent deal. New keeper comes in. I think everyone can be sort of happy about that, can't they? I think he'll be happy he's got his move, and Manchester United can go and get this kid. Is it Altay Bayındır, who's from Fenerbahce, is it? Is this the right one? Yeah, let me just have a look. Sorry, I don't know a lot about this kid, as you can tell. So I'm just trying to do a little bit. Yeah, it's Altay Bayındır heading to England to complete United move. It looks like he could be heading over to United very, very soon, especially with Dean Henderson now making way. We know that Erik ten Hag likes 3 goalkeepers, so that would be Bayındır, Tom Heaton, and Andre Onana. Now, another little story from, you can call it little, from Fabrizio Romano, which has ruffled a few feathers. Exclusive, Manchester United made contact with Chelsea to ask about conditions of Marc Cucurella deal on potential loan. No bid or concrete talks yet. United looking for left-back opportunity, but not so expensive. There are 3 candidates in the list. No decision made yet. Now, we heard that one of those could be Ryan Bertrand. I think it was Stretty News. Dale at Stretty News was saying that United were looking at Ryan Bertrand as an option. Now it seems that Cucurella could be another option. Had a disastrous season at Chelsea. Let's be honest. He was terrible at Chelsea last season. I don't want to sugarcoat it just because he could be coming to United. But he was very good at Brighton. You work it out. So was it just he didn't enjoy his time at Stamford Bridge, wasn't enjoying it, was part of the sort of the debacle that was the end of Thomas Tuchel, the beginning of Graham Potter, well, the entire Chelsea career of Graham Potter, and then Frank Lampard's absolutely shambolic return to Stamford Bridge. Did he just suffer as practically the whole Chelsea squad did, of just losing confidence, losing form? Or is he just not cut out for a bigger club? Was Brighton sort of the right club for him? No disrespect to them. I don't know. I wouldn't be particularly fond of this move, but as I always say, you back the manager. If the manager wants him, okay. And we do need some reinforcements. So we'll see what happens on that front. We know Dean Henderson's going, though, and we'll wait and see whether Cucurella ends up wearing a Manchester United shirt. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you've not done already, make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Go and check out all the post-match reaction from yesterday. Me and McCullough were at the protest. We did a little video. You've got Stephen Alston, you've got Andy Tate, you've got the live review as well with Joe Smith. You've got all that good stuff. So don't miss out on it by not subscribing. I've been Jay Motty. Did I just say Jay Motty? Jay Motty in a very sunny Salford. Thanks for watching.